the handbag wrap. This has to be one of my favourite wraps. It's a brilliant wrap for clothing. And you start off by folding the clothing as neatly as you can. Now, this scarf has lots of little tassels and tags on, so I'm actually going to first of all just put some tissue around it so that the scarf is all held together. If you have something that has a belt or sleeves, a blouse or something like that, you may also want to tissue it before you actually do the main gift wrap. This helps to make it a little easier when you wrap with the paper as opposed to the tissue. Secure your tissue in place so that it's just held maybe with a piece of sticky tape. And particularly if you use this for a large item of clothing, something like a dressing gown or a jumper, it does really help to have it contained within tissue. You may also need more than one sheet of paper if you're going to wrap a larger item, and the two would have to be joined. With the item in the middle, just check that your paper will cover the item. Take some sticky tape, double-sided tape of course, and place some alongside the item on one side of the paper. Then fold the paper over the item again, but this time stick it in place. Fold the paper at the base of the item. And put a nice big piece of double-sided tape across the base of the paper and just fold it up and stick it in place. It doesn't have to be amazingly tidy because you're going to fold this over now to create the next step of the wrap, and just crease the sides of the paper. It really is a very easy wrap. Then cut the paper approximately the same distance again from the top of your gift. So that's the length of the gift, and that length again, and cut. It simply remains to fold the paper to a point, and again with some double-sided tape, a couple of good chunks of tape, apply them to the back of your folds, and pull the top over so that it creates the effect of a handbag. This works very well with a high quality paper such as the one I've used, but it will also work with any quality of paper. All you then need is a bow to finish it off. And I have here a cheats bow which has been made before, which I'm going to stick to the flap. It is a very simple wrap, very useful for all sorts of clothing. Bulky and odd-shaped objects can also be wrapped in this way. Secure your bow in place. And the wrap is finished. How to wrap an object which is a little bit of an awkward shape with one of these tab top things. Well, these are not straightforward. They have odd shapes. But generally, the first step is to get the paper around the object as neatly as possible and follow the same principles as you would for gift wrapping a box. At the end of this item, I'm going to measure the paper just to the top of the edge of the item. Crease the paper on one side and making certain, because these are often very slippery, they've got cellophane in them, making certain that your item stays in the same place, pull the paper over and crease on the same side. Then make a fold on the far edge, exactly the same as gift wrapping a box. Place some sticky tape on the fold. And then seam the paper on the edge. At the end of the item, rather than folding down from the top, if it's a slightly awkward shape, it often works better to fold in from the sides. And this is a slightly irregular shape. It's sort of almost triangular. So fold in from the sides. Always fold the paper right in against the item. Fold the end over, and the top edge here has happily come to a point, so there's no raw edge there. And when you fold the two ends over, they form a neat finish. You will usually find, if you fold in from the sides, that this will be the case, that you will have an item neatly finished off at the end. Once that end is stuck down, you can then deal with the end with the tab top. Initially, you'll need to make sure that the paper is sealed all the way up, so you may need to add in a little bit more double-sided tape to get the seam completely sealed. And it's important that this actually is longer, the paper is longer here than the gift. This will allow you to fold over the top and secure it in place with some double-sided tape. So you've simply lengthened the top, the paper at the top, which has covered the tab and allows you to give it a neat finish without wrapping it exactly as it is. So straighten out the lengthened flap, and then all you need to do is to decorate it with a bow. And I've decided to use a stitched bow here in the shape of a bow tie. How to gift wrap a bulky package. The first thing is to make sure that the package is tissued and you have a nice firm package to work with. This will hold in any belts, buckles, sleeves, flaps, that kind of thing. You then need enough paper to go around the package and leave a good amount at each end. Make sure that the package is roughly centred before you start to wrap. And then take the longest flap of paper over the top and just make a crease roughly on the edge of the package to give you an indication of where your fold should be. Quite often with packages like this, any excess paper I try to leave and incorporate into the package because it actually helps to give it a little bit more rigidity. Take some double-sided tape and stick that to the edge of your long flap. Peel off the backing and making sure that you hold the shorter flap in place, pull it over and stick it down. Sometimes with very large packages you might need a second person to help you with this step. Then, making sure that it's seam side up, you can begin to fold in the ends. Fold the paper in as close to the package as you can and make a nice firm crease. Do the same at the top, making sure that the paper stays against the package as you make your crease. Fold it in on the other side and repeat the process so that the paper sort of forms a point. With a big package, you want to avoid turning it over too much because otherwise your paper will start to look very rough and creased and ragged. Once you've made the 2 points, fold the top one under and any excess paper leave in place because this will form a nice strong flap to which you can attach the second piece. Fold that up and fold it over roughly in line with the top of the package, as near as you can get. And then stick it down on the seam side of the package. Apply the adhesive tape on a diagonal, as with the boxes. And if you have a very big package, you'll also need some adhesive tape to go along the edge as well. Then secure the flap in place and pull the second one up to stick. Then repeat for the other end. Once the package has been sealed at both ends, you should then have a nice firm package ready to be ribboned. how to wrap a small item. I have here some jewellery. The jewellery is probably best secured in tissue to keep it together and to keep it neat, but it is small. So, first of all, I'm going to wrap it in the tissue and then make a pouch for the tissue to go in. Actually, I'm going to make a pouch which will contain the tissue. Don't use too much tissue, no more than you need. And just secure it in place with a little bit of tape. So our small item needn't be jewellery, it could be a lipstick, it could be a small perfume, it could be all sorts of things. Our small item is now wrapped, and I have also here an oddment of paper, just a small rectangle of paper, but big enough to make a pouch to enclose the jewellery. So, take your piece of paper, turn it wrong side up, and on one end make a fold and place some double-sided tape almost the entire length of the folded edge. When you peel your backing off, carefully stick this to the other edge of the paper so you've formed a tube. Bring the seam so it's just to one side of the middle, not in the middle but to one side of the middle, and just crease the edges on one end only. Just the one end. The other end needs to be still nice and tubular. Fold the edge over, maybe about 3/4 to an inch, and snip the corners off from the crease to the edge. Then, on the side of the seam, cut away the inner part of the paper along the line of your crease. Take your double-sided tape and stick this end down, so you'll form an envelope end. Then, having made an envelope end at one end, with your tissued item waiting to go in, you need to, at 90 degrees to the first crease, make another crease in the other end, and fold over and repeat the process of clipping the corners off and clipping away the inner fold on the side of the seam. Once you've done this, you need to secure this with another piece of double-sided tape. But before you actually stick the tape in place and peel the backing off, you need to slip your gift inside the pouch. Peel off the tape and stick the end down and you have a neat little pouch containing the gift. The pouch can be made in any weight of paper. This is quite a heavyweight cotton paper and it's worked very well, but it can be made in any quality of paper.